The time has come. The zombies have risen once more.
They call me Zombert.
Young Zombert was quick, small, and particularly vicious. But most pressingly of all, he was hungry.
Must find brains.
And so began his search. His only desire in life was to infect the brains of the villagers, and he had no intentions of stopping until he stumbled into a chicken.
Brains? Brains? Yes.
And so the two had just struck up an alliance. Zombert and the young chicken who went by the name Drumstick were now a team, a fearsome duo that would soon be known to the world as a
Chicken Jockey!
And so together they continued on Zombert's quest of finding brains and infecting the villagers. Zombert rides on Drumstick, guiding him, promising him that with his great sense of smell, he could lead them to a village, where not only could Zombert get all the brains that he desired, but Drumstick could also access many tasty seeds. It was a symbiotic relationship that they were both happy with. In this time, they ventured through a jungle, across a fast-moving river, and over the legendary Subscribe Button Hill. Their friendship was growing ever stronger by the minutes of travel together. They were both determined, and they kept on moving, until at last, they had found it. Zombert's senses had led them right to it.
The village, home to the brained beings, and storage of the tastiest seeds. Yeah, this is it. Onward, Drumstick.
And so they charged forwards. This was it. This was the destination that the duo had desired their entire, well, short lives. But then the sun rose, and Zombert began to burn.
Drumstick, run away. We can't do this right now. I'm gonna melt.
Drumstick ran around, trying to find a safe space for his friend. He needed Zombert to be alive. Mainly because he needed those seeds, but also because Zombert was his friend. But they were in the middle of a boring old plains field. The chicken jockey duo seemed doomed. There was nothing there, so there was nowhere for them to hide from the sun.
The pain! It burns!
And so frantically, Drumstick just continued running around in circles, unsure of what else he could do. And without Zombert's calm command, he could only do what chickens do, which is basically do nothing, and just wander around the world aimlessly. Like, chickens aren't very intelligent. And come on, Drumstick is still just a chicken. And so Zombert was going to burn to death. Until by some strand of pure dumb luck, they somehow fell down into a cave. It was cool down there. And there was some shade. So that protected Zombert from any further sun damage.
We're gonna be alright now. Thank you, Drumstick. You saved my life.
Zombert was severely injured from all that sunlight. In fact, he was on the brink of death, but narrowly, he had survived. So right now, that was all that mattered, and so the chicken jockey duo just stood there for a moment, trying to process what had just occurred.
Wow, we gotta be careful of the sun rising tonight. Alright, Drumstick? We can't let that happen again.
Drumstick stared deep into Zombert's eyes. The connection was strong with these two. They were destined to be partners in chaos for life.
Yes, Drumstick, we'll go have a look for some seeds in the cave whilst we wait for nightfall. Like, come on, that's the least I can do to repay you. You saved my life.
And so the duo began to explore the cave, venturing deep into the dark unknown. Now, the dark itself was nothing they were too scared of. After all, zombies were creatures of the night, and Drumstick, well, he had a dark soul of pure evil inside him. So they were both cool with the dark. That was fine with them. However, something that did frighten the both of them were the oars. Redstone that lit up in an ominous red glow when they stepped on it. When this first happened, they believed that they had opened a gateway to another world and had summoned a blood moon. But it was literally just redstone. They were alright. But soon, they wouldn't be. Whilst exploring the cave network, they discovered a small mossy dungeon and there seemed to be a fiery cage in the centre of it, and so the duo ventured over, trying to investigate. They must have angered the cage, as the spawner came to life. The room was suddenly filled with skeletons, and they did not appreciate their presence.
Drumstick, run!
Yeah, they weren't going to win that fight, so fleeing was the only smart choice there.
Yeah, I'm really sorry, Drumstick. We couldn't find any seeds. But at least we still have each other.
Drumstick looked up at Zombert.
Oh yeah, you're right. Let's go check.
And so the great duo made their way over to that cave opening that they had fallen into. And what do you know? Drumstick was right.
This is our time to strike.
The night had arrived. And so the fearsome chicken jockey duo crept out of the caves. And together, they charged straight for the village. They had arrived into the village. However, the village was in lockdown. They had prepared for this. All the villagers were hiding in their homes, safe from Zombert. Well, for now, as Zombert riding along his poultry pal looped back around, and they began to stalk out the village. And then, they waited. Soon a horde of proper grown-up zombies appeared, and they began to charge into the village. Zombert continued waiting, watching from afar. Until the horde of zombies breached one of the villagers' homes. Zombert and Drumstick sprung into action, and together, they charged.
Head for that one.
The villagers were fleeing their home, trying to escape the horde of zombies. Little did they know, there was a far smaller, yet far more menacing threat ahead. And when the opportunity presented itself, Zombert attacked. That villager couldn't escape, and so Zombert was able to consume its brains and infect it into a zombie villager.
Brains acquired.
Afterwards, Zombert and Drumstick were wandering around the barren village, looking for another victim, and also maybe some seeds for good old Drumstick, when out of the shadows, the Iron Golem approached.
Drumstick, charge straight for him.
Even in a world without Zombert, the world is forced to carry on. Drumstick has no choice but to run off into the forest, alone without Zombert, in search for the seeds, by himself. Whilst the villagers are forced to deal with the remaining zombie invasion, it wasn't over just yet. Notably though, there was one villager who was cowering in the corner of a stone mason's house. Now, he had just witnessed Zombert's attack, and he saw the infection of that villager, and well, he had just completely broken down. Seeing all that had just traumatized him. And so the legacy of Zombert was forever imprinted onto that young villager. And so, to learn what happened next, you'll need to watch this video.